Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that is not looking forward to Christmas because it's been a very naughty boy. God, that's creepy. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Combat Arena from Warhammer. In Combat Arena from Warhammer, 2 to 4 players take on the roles of various Warhammer gladiators as they fight on this rogue trader ship for sport. Essentially, you're going to have 5 possible gladiators that you can choose from. They each have different abilities. Critically, they have different kind of fighting arcs, different areas in which they can fight. Each player is going to go ahead and select which character they want to play and take their character sheet to place in front of them. It will have their various abilities listed, a unique ability, it will have anything that happen to them on their wounds, but critically it will also display their kind of character fighting arc in the areas in which they can actually attack because they're all different. The game board itself is double-sided and it's very small. It's going to put the gladiators right there in the middle of the action from the beginning of the game. Now, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to get a hand of 5 action cards that have specific actions on them. They are also going to consult the power chart. You've got this essentially this energy power chart, and it starts at 3. All players begin with 3. That's going to move up and down throughout the game, and it may give you more or less energy. And what this means is how many initiative cards you're going to put into the initiative deck. So if your energy level is at 3, you're going to put 3 initiative cards into the initiative deck, and you're going to build that deck, shuffle it. That's how many turns you get, essentially, for that round. So once you draw the first initiative card, then that player is going to go. Now they can play an action card at that point, and an action card typically has 3 different things you can choose from. Usually the first thing you can choose is some kind of movement option, the second is some kind of attack, and the third one is usually a defense or some kind of special conditional action that you can take, and you can choose to do one of those. Now facing is important too, so a lot of the cards will not only allow you to move at the top part of the card, but it will also allow you to change your facing, and that of course affects your arc. Now a lot of the options for the actions on those cards will have things that move your energy level up or down, sometimes 1, sometimes 2. So what that means is every time, or a lot of the times when you take a certain action, it's going to either mean you can get more energy and have up to 4 turns, or less energy and have only 2 turns in the next round. Now, players are going to attack each other, and depending on whether you're doing melee or ranged attack, and depending on what specific kind of attack you're doing, you're going to hit usually on like a 4, 5, or a 6, again depending on these different factors, but a higher roll is better. When you score a hit, the other player is going to move their token down on their wound track. Now once they get to the bottom, they go back up to the top, but the very top marker then you place a wound token on. So as you go down, you place more wound tokens on those spaces. So essentially what's happening is every time you do a lap, you add another wound token, and you're getting closer and closer to the point where you can't take any more of those wound tokens. Every time you do a lap and you place a new wound token down there, you must draw a critical wound card. And these critical wounds may do weird things to you. They may force you to kind of move some of the tokens on your stats over, meaning that you're not quite as powerful as you were fighting. It may affect you in other ways as well. Some of them may give you more energy, some of them may make you lose energy, but there's different things that happen with those critical wound tokens. So they can be pretty nasty when you draw them and you don't want to draw them. Now this game is essentially a game of last man standing. You keep fighting until someone is taken out of the game. But here's the thing, you're not really taken out of the game. If you are defeated, while you can't win, you can still kind of play the game and be kingmaker. If your initiative card comes up, and you'll still get 2 initiative cards every round, when your initiative card comes up, you essentially turn your sheet over, your player aid over, and you roll the die. And depending on what the table says on the die, you can do different things. There's different kind of energy arcs on the board, and you can lash them out to attack other players. You can temporarily bring your character back to make an attack. There's all sorts of different things you can do to kind of screw over different players on the board even after you're dead. So even though there's player elimination from the gladiatorial contest, there's not necessarily player elimination entirely from the game, though at that point you can't really win. So you go around and around, you keep playing, you keep attacking each other, you keep drawing those critical cards, you keep choosing the different actions you're going to do. And then, of course, you eliminate players who are then still playing nasty tricks on the people still in the game. And then finally, the last player standing wins Combat Arena. So Combat Arena, I have an epic story to tell you about Combat Arena. The game you're seeing here in the B track. Robert got out pretty quickly. I mean, relatively soon in the game, he was out. And he said, well, I'm just going to be sitting here for, an hour. And, well, okay, well, I got this thing. So he's playing this kind of just attacking people. And he's kind of going after everybody initially. Well, before long, Han, he actually got out. Han got out, and he's kind of doing the same thing. But by that point, I was down to very few hits left. I could take very few hits left. Sam still had a ton of hits left. Sam was looking pretty. This was a no-brainer. Now, how I got Robert out earlier in the game is I hit Robert while he was still pretty powerful, but one of the critical wound cards was a headshot. And essentially, I rolled die for the number of wound tokens he had, and if one of them is a 6, he's out. It's a headshot. That's what happened. That's how I got him out. I have, I don't know, like 6 or 7 of these wound tokens on mine, and I draw that card. Sam hits me, and I got to draw that card. Sam rolls 6 die or whatever, 6 or 7 die, however many it was. He doesn't score a 6. I'm still in the game, but I've got 1 hit left. 1 hit left, boom, I'm gone. Sam, he can take several. I mean, he's like probably 10 or 12 at least. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it was a lot. He had a ton of hit points left. Well, the 2 dead guys now are ganging up on Sam. So they're hitting Sam every time they can. And I'm hitting back, and I'm not doing much damage because you're kind of moving around and maneuvering, and my arc was really weird. But I hit Sam, and he drew. The way it worked out, he lapped himself a couple of times, and he had to draw I think 2 or 3 of the serious wound cards. Well, he drew the headshot card, and I rolled, and one of them was a 6, and I won. And it was one of those great things because I was the underdog, and these guys are helping me, and I'm able to actually take out Sam. And it was fun, and we were all laughing about it, except Sam. He wasn't happy. But it was a pretty fun and funny moment in this game. And this game has one of those laugh out loud moments and fun things like that you can do. The game itself is interesting. The whole player elimination, but not really eliminated, but kind of eliminated thing, is interesting. I like how it does keep people engaged in the game, but I do kind of wish there was a way still somehow they could pull out a victory. Otherwise, it becomes an activity for them and not so much a game. And I wish there was something you could do to kind of maybe give them a slight chance of a victory. I think that'd be cool. But as it is, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting. You're still keeping people engaged even after they're eliminated, so they're not just sitting around waiting for the other people to and they can still do something. They still have an active role in the game. I think that's pretty cool. The arcs are interesting. They provide interesting challenges. It almost becomes a chess game because you got to maneuver. And with that, and those facing cards, they're not a ton of them. And you can get a hand of cards that just don't have facing in it, and you got to turn around. And otherwise, you're just going to be taking hits if you can't get to the right facing. So I like the challenge that provides as well. My criticism for this game is it's kind of twofold. First of all, when you get kind of down to the end game, it's just 2 people. You kind of get into that chase, right? And that's something you see in a lot of games like this. Like I'm thinking like X-Wing Miniatures or something where you got like the last 2 ships and they're just kind of maneuvering for the hit. It can become a little tedious at times, and that kind of brings me to the second question, and then the second issue I have here, and that is the game's a little longer than it needs to be. It's one of those games that kind of it lasts just a little bit longer, I think, than the fun and the experience it provides. Not a lot longer, but a little longer. I wish there was some way you could accelerate that end game. Almost to the point where I'm thinking it might be worth it just to say the last 2 people standing are winners. I mean, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But it just seemed like that was a bit disappointing. But the game does go on longer. You know, the game, I think it says 30 to 45 minutes. It's a longer game than that. It's going to be over an hour. I wish the game clipped in that end game a little bit faster. And it's fun, and you are always engaged, but it still just goes on a little bit too long. What I'm suggesting to you here, well, and first of all, I do have to say, I freaking love the activation system here. And we've seen this in other games. We saw this actually in the Space Marines game that Warhammer did last year, which is really good. I really like that game quite a lot. I don't think I've ever played that with other people. I think I've only played that solo. I played it several times solo. When I went on my trip around the country this last summer, I took that with me and I played it a few times. And it's fun. But I like the activation system, meaning you've got the initiative cards and it's the draw. Whichever card draw, that's who goes. I like that it's not a set player is going to go a number of times, and I like how the energy affects that. But that idea of drawing the card, I mean, some other games do that, like the Doom game from Fantasy Flight a few years ago did that. I like that activation system very much. I think that's a lot of fun because, again, you never know who's going to go next, right? It kind of reminds me, too, of like in Academy Games 1775 and those games, how you reach into the bag and you pull out the cube to say who goes next. I like games where you don't know whose turn it is next because that's important, right? Especially in a game where you're maneuvering for position. It's important who goes next and you just don't know. Really like that quite a bit. But overall, as I say, with this a lot of the stuff I like about it and the fact that it does go too long, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I enjoyed the game. I'd play it again. I actually had one of the guys I was playing with actually really liked it quite a bit. The other guys, one of the other guys was like, so. I liked it. So with all of those caveats, with all those ideas, and the fact that it is something of a mixed bag, I'm going to say try it before you buy it. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say this is a very positive try it before you buy it. I think the good things in this game kind of outweigh some of the negatives I've discussed, which aren't really that big and important, but they are there, so I'm not going to completely ignore them either. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives, just not enough for me to give it a solid buy it, but try it before you buy it, and a lot of people will be very happy with this game. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on BoardGameGeek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you are one of those people who likes to put up your Christmas decorations on the day after Halloween, you know what, that's fine, that's great. Don't let anybody tell you that you are doing anything wrong or horrible.
What? Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Oh, I know. Sheesh.